Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So there's been a huge surge in new gun owners in the community recently, and what I wanted to do is do a 3-part mini-series on shotguns, rifles, and pistols, and really kind of bringing it back to the basics. And what I mean by that is I want to talk real quick with you guys about safety, function, and maintenance. Alright, so 12 gauge shotgun. This is going to be the first videos going to be on shotguns. There has been a huge surge in shotguns just because they are a little bit easier to get and a little bit easier to buy. It's not most states, you really just need a driver's license and need to pass a background check. All right, no permits, no concealed carry licensing, all those things that make it a little bit more difficult to get things like handguns. Shotguns and rifles are typically easier to get, so these are flying off the shelves. All right, so what I want to talk to you guys about is the 4 rules of safety as part of the kind of safety portion of the video. Now these come in a different variety, they're worded different ways. I'll flash on the screen right now. I want to talk about the 4 gun safety acts, ACTS. Alright, so number 1, assume every firearm is loaded. So whether you're at the range, whether you're at a gun counter, whether you're at home, if someone hands you a gun or if you pick up a gun, the very first thing you got to check, make sure she's unloaded, because you have to assume it's loaded. Alright, number 2, control the muzzle direction at all times. If you're at the range, always point it downrange, no matter what. I don't want to see all those crazy videos of people flailing guns around and holding them up for pictures, things like that. You got to point them downrange, and of course, same thing at home, safe direction, away from anyone, until you're ready to put this gun on target or point at something you want to destroy. Alright, number 3, alright, trigger finger off the trigger and out of the trigger guard. No matter when you're shooting, until you're ready to fire, that trigger finger has to be out of the trigger guard and off the trigger at all times. And number 4, you have to make sure you check your area. If you're shooting in your backyard, make sure you have a good backstop. If you're shooting at the range, make sure there's nothing crazy in the back you're hitting. Make sure you're not aiming towards the ceiling. Things like that. You want to make sure you're shooting in a safe direction at all times. So in terms of safely handling your shotgun, all right, so let's say you're at the gun store, let's say you're just even in your house, and someone hands you a shotgun. What's the first thing you need to do?
Check the barrel.
So you're checking the chamber to visually inspect it. Someone might have already checked it at the gun counter or in your home, and then they hand it to you, but you still need to check it, all right? And there's a safety on there that you can check as well. Typically just keep it on safety. I mean, there's a lot of guns that don't have safeties, but for the pump action like this Mossberg, there's a safety. So red means dead, blank means safe. So that is how you hand it over to someone, and then if she wants to hand it back, I'm gonna do the same thing. Muzzle in a safe direction, check the chamber, make sure it is empty, and with any firearm, always do that when someone hands you a firearm, because you never know. So let's talk about functionality of your standard pump action 12 gauge. This is a Mossberg 500. There's a 7-round magazine tube underneath the barrel. You get the barrel and you have your 7-round magazine tube. Now again, this is pretty much for the basics for you new gun owners out there, and I think this is going to be really helpful in terms of learning how to run a pump action like this, because when you pick one of these up, a lot of times they are all run in a very similar fashion. Typically you have your pump right here, all right, and how you actuate this pump to get the next round of chamber into that barrel, you'll notice it's all locked up. So you're gonna pick up your shotgun, you'll be like, oh man, it's locked up, I don't know what to do, maybe the safety's on, I don't know. There's a button in the back of the trigger, sometimes in the front of the trigger, depending on the brand. In Mossberg, or typically in the back, there's a button you push, all right, just like that. You push straight into the receiver. This is the receiver right here of the shotgun. Push that right into the receiver, and that allows you to release the slide or release the pump. Okay, so you're releasing the pump that way. All right, now when you're going ahead and releasing it like that, that allows a round to come out of the magazine tube, come up, and then you push forward, and she's loaded, ready to go. All right, so other thing you got here, you got your buttstock here. All right, so functionality wise, you want to make sure this is nice and tight to your shoulder, because this thing does have a really stout kick. All right, now depending on what round you use, and we'll talk about that in a second, make sure this is nice and tight to your shoulder. Don't hold it out away from your shoulder. Make sure it is nice and tight, all right, and hold it nice and tight there when you're firing, again with that finger out of the trigger until you're ready to fire. Aiming a shotgun's kind of interesting. Typically there's a bead in the front. This is a little fiber optic piece that I bought years ago. It's still holding up fine. I think it's like a True Glow or something, but go ahead, and there's a bead up here. You're aiming down the barrel, down the receiver. Typically there's no rear sight, and you're gonna go ahead and aim down and keep it nice and level with that bead. And if you do that, you just aim, put that bead on the target, you'll be just fine. You'll most likely hit what you're aiming at. And that kind of brings my point of safety up here. Safety's kind of tricky because a lot of guns don't have safeties and a lot of shotguns do. Alright, so whether the safety's up here or if the safety's a little crossbolt safety, which is a button on the trigger guard itself, you push one side or the other. Red means dead, blank means safe. Alright, so make sure that safety is on when you don't need to use the firearm. Make sure it is off when you need it. Alright, so always check the safety because what's going to happen is, alright, safety is off right now. Alright. But now that you saw I could fire with the safety off, obviously, safety on, nothing. Alright, so you're going to be kind of flustered a little bit if you end up having to use this with the safety off and then you end up, or the safety on and you end up not being able to use the gun at all. So that's the safety. Function-wise, we can talk about that a little bit here. I do have a little dummy round here, and then we'll talk about some of the ammunition options real briefly. This is a little dummy round, a little snap cap, has a little rubber piece where the firing pin is. Firing pin is back here, it's going this way. It hits the primer on the back of the shotgun shell, and then that goes ahead and fires out the shell, whatever's in there, buckshot or birdshot, as well as this wad kind of package that flies out. You'll see this wad kind of fly out. That just holds the BBs together. I'm not going to go in too deep on shotguns, but shotguns are very, very versatile. There's so many different loads you can buy. But how to load it is you're actually going to go ahead and take up to 7 rounds, drop it in the bottom of the receiver like that, take your thumb, push it like that. Nothing is going to bite your thumb on these, okay? You're not going to worry about anything like that. It's pretty soft, pretty easy spring in there. You can use your pinky even. It's fairly simple to use. Don't worry about your finger going in there and getting like grabbed on by the receiver or the bolt coming in or something like that. But to load that first round, you're going to go ahead and push that slide release. That is going to make the round pop up about halfway in the receiver, and then pull, slide forward, and the round goes into the chamber, ready to go. Alright, after you shoot that round, you'll be able to just go ahead and pull that slide back without pushing that button, so that way it's a much quicker, easier way to go and pump the round to get the next round in. This one comes flying out like so. Stopped it, but it comes flying out like so, and you can go load the next round. So, do that again real quick. Just like that. So, talking about rounds, alright? So, you got a couple different ones. You got birdshot right here, okay? So birdshot like this, and you also have buckshot that looks like that. All right, so birdshot is typically used for bird hunting. They're little pellets. They're not typically designed to really harm anyone too much. I mean, it's birdshot. You've seen these movies before where people get shot in the butt or something like that, and you're just picking out pellets there.
I'm just gonna scare them a little bit.
All right.
To the right!
They're not an over-penetrating type of round. Generally speaking, shotguns don't over-penetrate at all until you're looking at slugs or kind of higher ballistics there. But little birdshot right here. These are good. I think you can scare people away. You can definitely harm them. But if you're looking for something, a home defense round, you really need to look into double-aught buckshot. This stuff's a lot more expensive, so you probably want to stock up on some of it, use it for home defense, train with it, because both of these obviously have really good kick to them for 12 gauge, but this buckshot and then you're going into slugs, it's a lot more. Birdshot is a bunch of little tiny pellets. Again, it's kind of designed to pepper a target or knock a bird out of the sky. Buckshot has 9 pellets in there. You can kind of figure it's about 9 millimeters, I like to say. It's not the same ballistics, of course, but 9 millimeters. The pattern is going to be like this. It's not a big spread out pattern, and then of course it spreads out slowly the farther you get away. And then you have a slug, which is just a big old piece of lead that's just like a large round, essentially, that has a much more powerful hit to it. But you have to aim a little bit more with those. Those don't spread out at all. And of course, there's numerous other types of shells. But these two are the ones I would promote for home defense. Again, birdshot is not really that deadly, but it will definitely penetrate the skin. Buckshot is more what you're using for self-defense rounds. Okay. For our setup here, you can buy some different accessories. You can buy like slings with rounds on them if you're using this for your only home defense gun. You can buy little side caddies here. You have 6 rounds on here. I put 4 facing down for buckshot, 2 facing up for birdshot, depending on what you want to use. And I've used this shotgun. I've had this for years now. It's actually one of the old zombie editions. I don't even think zombies are trending anymore, but Yeah, so it's Mossberg 500. It's like one of their tactical editions there, zombie edition there, a little ZMB on there. But so you could do a sling. You can go put rounds on there. You can go ahead and just have a box of shells. You can load up 7 rounds in here, put it on safety, and then it's ready to go whenever you want, provided it's in a safe storage. It's up to you to safely secure and store firearms like this. Depending on your state laws too, they might not let you keep it loaded. They might make sure you have ammunition away from it. You might not even be able to have this carrier on there. So check your local laws for shotguns. But so this is how we have it set up like this, and that's kind of the basics, kind of back to the basics on what you need to know about the safety and as well as the functionality of shotguns. So lastly, let's talk about maintenance on a 12 gauge shotgun like this. All right, so pump actions are fairly simple to operate. However, the receiver and what's inside here is not that simple to take apart, put back together. So what I recommend is do kind of a basic cleaning on these. All right, so there's of course videos you can do to take these all apart. They're a little bit more complicated than handguns and rifles, which of course we'll talk about in the next couple of videos in the series. But what you need is some cleaning oil, some CLP or some Barricade or Hops No. 9 or some kind of cleaning solvent. I think I've even heard you can use motor oil in a pinch, but you need some cleaning and preservative and lubricant. All right, so I like CLP. I'll put a link down below. You can get them in nice big bottles on Amazon and then use them whenever you need. But kind of just the basic pointers for cleaning and maintenance is basically you're going to need a cable to pull through patches from the back to the end of the barrel. So from the receiver all the way through to the end of the barrel, you're going to run a cable or a string through. And on the end of the cable on this side will be either a loop, or sometimes you can get some actual professional like shotgun cleaning swabs or cleaning brush, and then go ahead and use a patch or some ripped up t-shirts and hook those on there, and you're going to put a little bit of oil on there and just kind of run through maybe half a dozen patches or half a dozen swabs and just kind of clean out. There is no rifling or anything like that, like a rifle or a handgun, for this to kind of have to worry about the grooves and things like that, but just kind of clean it out and wait till the rags or whatever you're using to clean it out, the cloth that comes out with that cable pull through, make sure that's all clean or relatively clean. And then for the actual receiver itself, I would recommend taking, like I said, some patches or something like that, or ripped up t-shirts, put a little bit of oil on there, a little bit of solvent, clean as much as you can just by hand, pull the actual rack, the slide actual forward, or rack the pump actual forward, and then go ahead and clean as much as you can by hand under here as well. And then once that is clean as you can get, you can go ahead and take some oil, and wherever you see wear marks, so if you see any wear marks on the inside here or here, you want to put a drop of oil on those wear marks. All right, that's going to allow you to have this function a lot easier and also preserve it. And then when you're done, rack the slide a few times to really kind of get that oil all in there, and you're pretty good to go. All right, externally you don't really have to do much to it. Just make sure you store it in a dry place, and it's, you know, not super hot, super cold, things like that. But dry is very important for firearms. So when you're storing it in a safe, secure area, make sure you have something in there to kind of take the humidity out, especially if you're planning on just having this for home defense and you just want to leave it in there in a locked cabinet or a lock box or something like that. Make sure you have something in there to kind of make sure the humidity doesn't get too crazy in there, because this stuff will rust. All that will rust. So be careful with that. So I think that's it, guys. It kind of covers the safety, function, and maintenance of a 12 gauge shotgun like this Mossberg 500. So I hope you find this kind of helpful, especially for your new owners out there. If you have any questions at all, hit them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. As always, subscribe to the channel, like this video, make sure you follow us over on Instagram, like us on Facebook for all the latest and greatest deals on the internet, and I'll see you in the next review.